So this video, my friends, is going to be showing you guys how to get all of the got there gaps, which is to connect two different gaps in a level, if you will, in a park. We're going to go through this. There's timestamps. If you enjoy, leave a like, subscribe for more, and let's go ahead and start with Foundry. So for Foundry, we got to connect the Rollin, hop, and the round, the bend gaps in a single combo. Again, that's what we're going to be doing, is connecting these in a single combo. At the very beginning, these two little quarter pipes, if you grind from one and hop over and grind into the other, that is the Rollin hop. And then around the bend is going to be this super long rail over here in the very back of the Foundry area. If you grind it all the way around, that's around the bend. You might actually find it easier to start with this one, as you see me doing here, because you can just kind of like hop over here, manual, and then go over here into this ramp, hop over, and boom, that is the got there gap. You connected the two gaps together. All right, moving on to Canada, we got to do manual transition and my head. So let me show you really quick how to do this one. We're gonna go over here to the right when we first spawn in, and there's a little mani pad right here. You're gonna manual across this manual pad. That's gonna be the first gap. Then we're gonna have to get all the way around the bend. You can get here however you want, but this is how I'm doing it. We got to get onto this rail right here, however you do that. Then you're gonna grind, jump right about there onto the eagle's wings, and that is the second gap for on my head, and that is the got their gap for Canada complete, and we can move on to the next one. That is the reward, by the way. All right, moving on to the next one. Rio, we got to connect the two-wheeled, whatever it was called. You'll see in a second. Anyways, let's go to the right here. We're gonna manual across this little kind of thing here for the first one, the two-wheeled whoopty gap. Then we're gonna grind this little ledge and then hop over to this ledge. That one's a tricky part to get to the take it to the bridge. Again, that second part of the gap is kind of the tricky part, making sure you have enough momentum. Just keep trying, trial and error. It's a little tricky, but you'll get it. All right, moving on from that, we're going to go to Suburbia. Suburbia, we got to connect these three challenges. I feel like this one's a little bit easier. It's just going to take some practice. So we got to hop basically over, like, off this kicker into the construction area. And then we're going to have to hop onto the chain link kind of fence right there. And then there's that gap right there. So hopping over the little kind of tear in the chain link gap. This one's the hardest part. You just got to air over the quarter pipe over that wall. Just as you're manualing up, just hold up on the on the stick or the D-pad as you're kind of getting up to the top of the ramp, and you'll fly over. Just don't do it too early or you're gonna fall. All right, moving on to the next one. We're gonna go to airport. Airport, we got to do walkway ride number 1, and then the O and S gaps in a single combo. It's not too hard, actually. I don't think so. I think this is one of the easier ones. We've got to grind this whole thing all the way from the start to the finish. If the gap doesn't activate, you didn't grind the whole thing. And then just kind of go down here. And what we're going to be doing is getting over here. You don't have to grind this, by the way. This is just for momentum. We're going to be airing over this little kicker over that. And that's the second gap, the O and the S, or whatever it's called. So again, this one's a little easier in my opinion. So that's the airport one. You can see what the reward is. And we're moving on to the next one. Getting a little out of breath here. Skater Island. We got to do the flame transfer and the burning sensation gaps in a single combo. The flame transfer might be the only one that might give some people some difficulty. So we're going to head over there right now. We're going to go into this sort of bowl area. Not this one. The other bowl. I just kind of messed up. So we're going from here into that bowl that we were just at. So right here, this is where we're going to do the gap right now. The first one, we're going to air over here. Make sure you have enough air to make it over there. And then we're going to grind up here to get out of the bowl right there. And then manual over here. And we're going to be hopping over this. This is the burning sensation. Just hop over that kind of burning area. And that's it. Again, I feel like this one's a little easier than some of the other ones, but some people might struggle more than others. Moving on from that, we're going to be going to Los Angeles. This one is a little tricky because you got to really balance with the grinds, okay? It's a very, very, very long grind. If you're good at balancing grinds, it's going to be easy for you. If you're bad at it, it's not. Like I always say, so hold on. First, we're going up here, up this little quarter pipe, and we're grinding, and we're not getting off until we get to the very end. Obviously, you want max stats to help you, but yeah, I mean, just kind of finesse the balance. Right here, ollie off onto this little ledge, and that's the final gap, the wire drop. But like I said, when it comes to balancing, just kind of finesse it. Don't push it too hard one way or the other, or it's going to really go all wonky and whatnot. All right, next one is going to be Tokyo. This one gave me the most trouble out of probably all of the ones that I did. So first off, we got to open up the secret area. Let me show you how to do that if you haven't done that. So we're going to air up here. We're going to get to this like little rooftop. Then we're going to grind this wire. And when we grind this wire, we're going to hop up here, hop up here, and then just hop over there, and then that little kind of gap is going to open up the secret area. Now, the first gap that we're going to be chaining is going to be from this little round thing up into a grind on this little rail. And then we got to get back to over here. So this is a failed run, by the way. But basically, you can see right here, we got to get up there. It's a little tricky. So I'll show you another botched run, but one that I actually got into the area. So again, I'm grinding up here. I'm going to grind this rail. This is how I do it. When I get to this corner section right here, I'm going to ollie off into that ledge, ollie off. I'm going to go up this ramp, do a revert into a manual, and then kind of turn. And then as I'm going up that little kind of ramp, I'm going to, again, push up to kind of air out, if that makes sense. See, I got the gap, even though I didn't gap it, and it didn't count. So again, when you're going up the ramp to get into that little hole, it's very hard because you don't want to push up too early or you're going to throw your manual off, but you kind of like want to ollie and then push up at the same time. So again, I'm getting momentum here and then I'm ollieing and pushing up. You know what I mean? To kind of get over that little hump. Otherwise, you're just going to kind of fly up and back down like a quarter pipe. Getting enough momentum, by the way, to clear that second gap is the trickiest part. There's many times where I didn't have enough momentum, so it's trial and error, but that's how you do it. All right, moving on to the next one. This one's under the Expert 2 category for some reason, cruise ship. Both cruise ship and pinball are going to be under that category instead. So for this one, it's hard and easy. So what we got to do is manual this entire slide, and that's basically all we got to do. But that sounds simpler than it is, because what you don't want to do is fly out of the slide, and it's very easy to kind of fly out of the slide. I did it first try somehow, but basically you just got to manual the slide. Try to go slow, like start your manual very, very, very slow into the slide like you see me do. And that's probably your best bet. It's tricky, but keep at it, you'll get it. All right. Moving on to THPS 4's ones now. We're going to go to college, which is going to be the first one. We got to connect the clock tower grind and the Coliseum gap or whatever it was called. Anyways, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going straight to the very, very, very end from the spawn. You can see the clock tower is the big, well, like tall tower. There's actually a doorway up top on the back end that we can go through. And when we go through that doorway, we're just going to kind of grind the wire. So you can see I'm going to air out. And I guess it doesn't matter how much of it you grind. You just got to grind like half of the wire. Anyways, we're going to ollie out of here. And we're going right here to the right. So this little transition is going to be the second one. So just transition from there, those two ramps. It's a very easy transition. I don't think this one's too hard personally. But again, some people might find it more difficult than others. San Francisco. All right. This was a little trickier, I think. We got to go over the walkway and then do the TC's roof gap. It's requires a lot of connecting of grinds and ollies in very weird directions. Ignore the fact that I'm all over the place right now. We're trying to get over towards the pier. I was just kind of, I don't know, I was crashing a lot. Okay. So you see that kicker that I just kind of rode by? We're going to be airing off of that little kicker over this bridge is going to be the first one into a manual. This is a botched run right here, but I'm going to go up and I'm going to grind this, and then we're going to grind onto that rail, and then we're going to ollie onto the other roof's rail, and whatever. This is the good run. So again, over the kicker, over the bridge, try to get enough momentum to be able to get up here. Also, if you're trying to get more momentum, anytime you ollie back into a grind, you can get some more momentum. I kind of almost mess that up. Going from that rail to that wire is probably the hardest part, because you got to make sure that you're holding the left button. And then the final gap is this roof to this roof. You don't have to be grinding, you could be manualing, but just hopping over those rooftops. Those last rooftops is the gap, the second gap that you're trying to do. So a little tricky, but I believe in you guys. You can get it. Movie time. We're going to movie studio. This one's pretty easy. So we're starting with a grind on this ledge. All you gotta do is ollie back into a grind while you're grinding on that ledge. Grind up that little kind of light thing, and then into that ledge above. And those are the three things. Again, the biggest thing is like grinding on the sidewalk, ollieing back into a grind on the sidewalk. That's how you get the first gap. Okay, the next one is going to be Alcatraz, skylight to skylight, and then down the hatch. This one, again, might give some people some trouble. Go through the doorways, by the way, that I'm going through to get to the rooftop. We're just going to be grinding from one skylight to the other, but we're going to be turning around, and we're going to be doing it from this direction. So that's the first one. We're going to grind here. We're going to air off of here. This is the path I'm taking to get as much momentum as possible. I'm going to hit this kicker really quick to get some more momentum, revert manual, and we're going straight down. So you see the kicker to the quarter pipe to my left. We're going to be transitioning off of that, doing a little spine transfer, and that's the second gap. So you just want to make sure you have enough momentum when you go into that gap, and you should be good to go. So again, that is Alcatraz down, and we can move on to the next one. All right, so Waterpark, we're going to be going over there. We got to connect the out of nowhere, and actually I'm over here gaps, and this one took me a while to figure out, but we have it now, and so I'll show you guys where to go. We're going to be going to the twin slides, if you know where that is. If you don't know where that is, Well, I'm going to show you guys exactly where it is. So it's right in front of me here, but there's two entrances, excuse me. We're going to be going through this one over here. It's going to lead us up here. You're going to grind this first green one, and then we're going to basically ollie and grind into the next slide and ollie and grind into another slide. By the way, you can also go up that entrance. So grind and ollie onto that. Again, these are some botched runs I'm just showing you guys. Now this one's the right one. So grind from this one, grind here, ollie right there, and then grind onto that green rail, and those are the two gaps. I know it's really weird. You're gonna have to get the timing right, especially for the second one. Just my suggestion is don't have too much speed. Try to go as slow as possible when you go into the grinds, and you should get it done. All right, so Kona, however you pronounce it. This one, don't get too caught up in how many gaps you got to connect. It's just right off the top. We're just manualing this whole kind of snake. So just manual the entire snake all the way to the end. Multiple gaps will appear as you kind of go through. Once you get to the very end over here, that's it. Land it and you're good to go. That is that. It's just requires, like I said, a lot of finesse with the balance meter. That's it. Shipyard. We got to go ledge to rail, ledge to gap, rail to ledge, whatever. There's 3 gaps. It sounds complicated, and it's going to sound complicated first. You got to grind from this ledge to that rail, back to the ledge, and then hop over that ledge to the other ledge. And you can do this from any direction. So I'm going to do it from this direction. Ledge, rail, back to the ledge, over to the next ledge. You see what I mean? If you have to watch that in slow motion, I don't blame you. Go ahead and do that. But that's pretty much how you do it. That's another one done. We can move on to London. Moving on from that, we got London around the arches and the shell mega wire gaps. This is one of those very, very long grinds, and that's all it is. You're going to go up this ramp here, and we're going to be grinding all the way along, and we're just not going to stop grinding. No jumps, no ollies, nothing. Just a straight grind. That's the first one. We're going to have to grind across the wire here, and once we grind across the wire, right up here to the Canadian Embassy, then that's it. We're done the 2 gaps. So again, just kind of finesse the balance, and the gentle hand will rule the land. Just keep that in mind. All right, so that's London. Moving on to Zoo. Speak no evil, hear no evil, see no evil. It's a very simple gap, this one, in my opinion, but it's kind of, you know, just getting the timing right, especially off the first one. So you can see I'm going to botch this. There's this little tiny rail at the beginning. That's the timing one that's kind of a little bit annoying because it's going around a corner, so you just got to time that. That's the first one. Ollie into this one, that's the second one. Ollie grind into this one, that's the third one, and you're pretty much done Zoo. Again, Zoo is a little easier, thankfully. Thankfully, there's some easier ones in this list. And then that's it. We got one more to go. It's going to be Pinball. Kill the Brain, Kill the Ghoul, how you pronounce it. This one's a little tricky, I'll admit. There's a couple ways to do it. This is, by the way, this is under the Expert 2 category as well, just like the cruise ship one. So what we're going to do is go to wall ride here, grind onto this, ollie, grind onto this, ollie, grind onto this, and grind all the way to the end until it pops, kill the ghoul. Then we're going to manual, and we're going to try to wall ride and grind up here. It could be a little finicky to wall ride, grind into that, and then we're going up there. Again, that was a botched run, but I want to show you guys the first section just to get a little bit of an understanding what we're going to be doing. Again, we're going to grind on these all the way along. Again, this is the run that I actually did it. Wall riding here, you got to kind of go a little ahead or else it doesn't wall ride properly. You're going to grind up here, and then what we're going to be doing is grinding. I almost lost it. Grind it right there. Ollie into grind this, and then ollie grind right across this, and that's the second gap, okay? It's a little tricky. You can do it however you want. If you have a better method to do it, feel free. But that's the final got there gap. You have all of them complete. If you enjoyed this one, leave a like, subscribe for more. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll do my very best to answer them to the best of my ability. Let me know what you think, which ones were the hardest, which ones were the easiest, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, game on.